Hello and welcome to another day of English 2. I'm your online teacher, Miss Abear. We are looking at an argument writing unit on free speech and social media. Today we're going to be looking at a court case, but before we do, let me remind you that this is a Common Lit unit. This is from Unit 6, Free Speech and Social Media, and so your teacher can get all of those resources on that Common Lit website. So our essential question is, how do you convince people that you are right? And at the end of the unit, we're going to be writing an essay answering the question, should schools be allowed to punish students for what they write on social media? So yesterday you explored some media content where you began to kind of delve into what does it mean to have freedom of speech. And so guys, I believe that you have begun adding to those opinions that you already had. You should have your research note-taking graphic organizer. You should be working through this to keep up with all of the notes and the evidence that you are going to need in order to write your essay. Remember that when you answer that question, that is going to be your claim, and then you're going to have evidence to support that claim, and then you have to have some reasoning that explains how your evidence supports your claims. And we're going to get into that a little bit more. But today, let's look at what is that court case? Tinker versus Des Moines. Freedom of speech for students. It's about a case that set the precedent for student free speech rights at school. So you guys, that precedent word you can see is in bold. That is one of our vocabulary words. Take a second and remind your neighbor what that word means. Good job. Some of you still need to be practicing your vocabulary, reading back over those words and making sure that you really understand what they are for the rest of the unit. So I want you to take a second, think about this answer or this question, and then I'm going to let you raise your hand to share out. Should protests at school be included in a student's First Amendment rights? Think about that for a second and then raise your hand to share. So I see some of you are really contemplating the answer to that question, and you're thinking about what does it mean to have freedom of speech, and does protest, is that included in the freedom of speech? So I'm really glad that you guys shared your answers to that, and you're going to learn a little bit more about that particular question with today's text. So I want you to look at this. So as a student, Mary Beth Tinker, she wore an armband to protest the Vietnam War. That armband set off a battle that went all the way to the United States Supreme Court as Tinker versus Des Moines. Des Moines, Iowa is where this case happened. So you're going to learn a little bit more about this case, but y'all, Mary Beth is still alive and well, and she still talks about this case and talks to students about this case today. So let's look at what are we going to be talking about or thinking about as we read. So we want to look at what those key details or example the author provides to stake his own claim or her own claim. And what is the central idea to these details reveal? So I want you to think about those as we read and what you're going to learn. So today, either in small groups or with a partner, you're going to read through this text, and I want you to make sure that you are answering the during reading questions that are in the margin of your text. And there are 6 questions that you will answer either with your small group or with a partner as you read. Remember, each person needs to be writing their own information. Even though you're doing the work together, you want to have your own record of that information. So go ahead and with a partner or a small group, depending on what your teacher says in the classroom, I want you to read this text and answer those questions. And then tomorrow, when we come back together, you will answer the questions at the end of the text independently, and then you will do some of that research note-taking graphic organizer. But for today, that is all that I have for you, because I want to give you as much time as possible to read this text with your partner or with your small group and to answer those questions. Again, hold off on answering those independent reading questions. Just the during reading questions, you will answer those with your partner or small group. And until next time, happy reading.